The internet has a dark wish for Barron Trump and the Iran war. Unfortunately, the joke's on them. Sign up for the Slatest to get the most insightful analysis, criticism, and advice out there, delivered to your inbox daily. On Sunday, President Donald Trump acknowledged that his major combat operations in Iran will likely result in the death and wounding of U.S. troops.
He told the victim script released by prosecutors, now key evidence in the London.
And then, in his signature Trumpian way, basically shrugged that off. That's the way it is, he said bluntly. 6 Americans have already died, as have about 700 Iranians. But surely things would be different and Trump would treat the war with the gravity it deserves if one of his own kids were among the service members risking their lives, right? That, or something like it, is the argument behind the new website Draft Barron Trump and the hashtag #SendBarron, which trended over the weekend.
In the trial, the victim reportedly prayed.
Thank you. When we return at 6, we thank you for watching. And
Barron Trump, as a reminder, is Trump's youngest child, who was currently a 19-year-old sophomore at New York University and was most recently in the news when it came out last month that he may have saved a woman's life over FaceTime. The Draft Barron Trump website, which it ought to be said probably took all of half an hour to get online, was the brainchild of a comedy writer and serial anti-Trump website impresario named Toby Morton.
There's now key evidence in the London. Press Trump for details about the victim and how he knew her.
Mr. President!
It consists of little more than a few photos and fake testimonials that don't really make sense. Why would sending Barron to war need a testimonial from Donald Trump? Could he not just, send him if he wanted to? But those are quibbles, and honestly, a half-assed website is hardly the real issue with the private Barron Trump fantasy.
Barron Trump, the only son of the covering the trial.
When I see people like Hassan Piker tweeting that Barron should be sent off to the war, I understand that the idea is that President Trump deserves to be forced to experience the pain of having someone he loves in the line of fire. But when has the president ever proved himself to be a human being in possession of a beating heart? It's kind of the whole problem with him, and it's just as true for his personal life as it is for his politics.
That the defendant testified today that he told the victim
his cruelty to his own children, especially his eldest, Don Jr., has been whispered about for years. There's the story about how he slapped him in his college dorm, and the one about how he called him a loser when he was a 4-year-old. 4. I'm not saying Trump is at all likely to send Barron off to war, because he's not, but I am saying he probably wouldn't miss him much if he did. As Trump demonstrated in the recent Melania documentary, he barely seems to know him anyway.
At that moment, Barron Trump, the only son of the covering the trial.
Speaking of Melania, this much should be obvious, but the First Lady, way more than the president, would never allow her only child to be sent to war. This is the same kid who had a Slovenian accent as a child, despite being raised in America, because the only people he was ever around were his mother and his maternal grandparents. If Melania wouldn't even let Barron socialize with other preschoolers, she's not letting him go to war.
That the defendant testified today that he told the victim
Barron has continued to stay close to the nest, living in Trump Tower rather than the dorms for his freshman year at NYU, and then opting to study at the university's D.C. campus for his second year in order to live at the White House. This mama's boy will be skipping basic training, thank you. So Barron's not going anywhere near any battlefields, but as a thought experiment, let's imagine what it would be like if he did.
Whom Trump would describe in an email to prosecutors.
Questions and witnesses next week. Mr. President.
At that moment.
His experience might be a lot like that of Prince Harry, who wrote in his memoir Spare about his time in Afghanistan. Though Harry really fought and killed people there, he was also given special treatment and was withdrawn by security forces the second his deployment was leaked to the media. In some imagined scenario where Barron ended up enlisting, he too would likely be insulated from the worst outcomes because of who he is.
And the First Lady in London. Quote, I'm calling from the U.S.
If I sound a little dismissive of a bunch of people angrily hoping that Trump's actions could for once have consequences, that's because all the jokes about Barron going to war feel a little first-term to me. They're reminiscent of a time of #resistance cranks and dumb Trump-Putin memes. Barron is going to have a perfectly lovely life. He is probably having a nice video chat with an accused sex trafficker as we speak. Is it any consolation that he probably hates his father? Maybe a little. That's what we can say. Don't forget to support our channel by liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing. We thank you all for your support.
Barron Trump, the only son of the covering the trial. The victim reportedly prayed.